Morning.
Good
Morning.
podcast today. I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves first and maybe give them a little background on themselves, and then we'll proceed onward. Let me get this out of the middle of the screen here. Okay, so let's start with Mr. Dave.
Okay, Dave Clark out of Tampa, Florida, 5th degree Budoshin and 1st degree, and a mixture of Shotokan Shidoryu and Shotokai Karate. Happy to be here and happy to see so many people. That means I'm going to learn a lot today.
Okay, Dexter.
Yes, I'm up here in Canada. 4th degree in Jiu-Jitsu, Canadian Jiu-Jitsu Council. 1st degree in Goju-Ryu, karate, and other things. Sitting here in my Jeep. Glad to be here. Actually, this will be the next week. We start the Saturday teaching the kids again. They're back, so I don't think I'll see you guys for a while after today.
Oh, it's not fair.
I know.
Gotta get them
That's
all.
probably good news, though. It's good news or bad news. I don't know.
You got to get them all in the Jeep, and you can practice in the Jeep.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I'll do jujitsu in the car here in the Jeep, and we can watch you at the same time.
Triple J Jiu-Jitsu, Jeep Jiu-Jitsu.
Actually, I know I'm getting off. Has anyone ever seen that jujitsu in the car? There's like contests of jujitsu in the car. Like they have contests where they fight. Has anyone seen that?
No.
Well, there's your chat. Look it up on YouTube. They have actual contests of 2 contestants in the car, and then they say go, and they have to choke the other person out or do whatever. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
Anyway, so off topic completely.
Sounds like something Krav Maga would come up with.
I think it's more of a BJJ thing, but they're serious. They have these contests. It's really interesting. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they got to move that to the trunk anyway, or the boot, depending on what country you're in. Okay, Paul, introduce yourself, please.
Paul Clara, 7th degree Jiu-Jitsu, Budoshin Jiu-Jitsu, 7th degree Judo from the Seibukan. By the way, I'm Northern Region Director from Baltimore. And I never finished my Shodan in Seidokan Karate because unfortunately Sensei passed away, but that's okay. He lives on in spirit.
Okay. Nader? Or
I'm Nader Shitara, Zen Budokai of San Francisco. We're an offshoot of Danzan Ryu. And I've done about 14 years of judo, and I've been involved in Zen Budokai since April Fool's Day, 1989. I'm glad to be here too, and I'm a little bit under the weather today, so if I have to leave, I'll put it in the chat.
okay, very good.
Feel better.
Eric?
Thank you very much.
Eric?
Hello, my name is Eric Salih. I'm a knee-down or 2nd degree black belt under our sensei George Kirby for Budoshin Jiu-Jitsu. I do other martial arts like judo, kali, Shotokan karate, and the various other martial arts. So, yeah, I'm happy to be here. Good morning.
Nice to see you.
Good. And I'm George Kirby, 10th Dan Budoshin Jiu-Jitsu. Also studied Kitsugo under the late Harold Brocious, which complemented Seki's teaching beautifully, although it's an entirely different approach. Anyway, so today...
Sorry, excuse me. So, what? I didn't catch what that was, sir.
He calls it Kitsugo Jiu-Jitsu,
Oh.
Ketsugo.
Interesting. Okay.
It's it looks really sloppy compared to most jujitsu that are very, some jujitsu are very artsy.
Yeah,
That's the extreme other end, but his stuff works, and that's what's amazing about it. It looks like you look at it and say, how can that work? but it does. And it's, he has a, I think he was a Boston police officer, which is where he picked up a lot of his street smarts.
Oh, yeah, that would work. That would do it.
And if you
A
knew,
lot of headbutts.
if you ever knew Buddy, the comedian Buddy Hackett,
Yeah.
this
heard of
guy,
him.
this guy was a complete double of him. And he also had, Hal also had a very good dry sense of humor. But anyway, okay, let's get going here. The one person we're missing, who I'd really like to see here is Ken Blake, who really filled out a lot of the issues on the, he's a on the issue of escalation and de-escalation of a street situation. And in any case, he does de-escalation professionally. He does counselor or something of that sort. Good morning, Darren.
Good morning,
Morning.
everyone.
Want to introduce
Morning.
yourself very briefly? We'll get back to our topic.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you
You
said.
want to
Sensei.
introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. Darren Mellerine, New Orleans, Louisiana. Hi, everyone. I think,
Hello.
Hello.
wait, everybody here knew is one person. Hi, everyone.
Okay. Okay, all right. So we're dealing with escalation, de-escalation in a street situation. And what's his name again? Ken Blake is a professional in this area, but that's why I was hoping he would be here, but we shall proceed. And we're going to be covering 6 areas if we can. And because if you can de-escalate, you know, sometimes people escalate situations, I think, out of their own carelessness more than anything else, or ignorance. But if you can de-escalate a situation, you can either, you know, hopefully prevent it from becoming a physical altercation, or there may be some situations where you have to escalate if you are already are in a physical escalation, a physical confrontation, or you may be able to de-escalate even though you're in the physical confrontation. So we're just going to go through the, you all have your, do you have your outline with you somewhere? Did you download it, hopefully?
On my phone.
Okay, let's move right along. Okay.
It's on my phone.
On your phone. Okay. Anyway, the 6 issues are self-control, which is key to controlling the situation, situational awareness, which is critical, showing respect, trying to find agreement, never ask a why question. That's from me. That's from me when I learned that as a when I was doing counseling at junior high school level. Worked much better than asking why. And finding common ground so you can hopefully de-escalate and perhaps find a workable solution. So that's our first topic. Anybody want to, and under self-control, the most important thing you can do, and most martial arts sensei try to teach their students this, which is keep calm. And something that is easier for adults to do than kids, although sometimes there are exceptions, is to avoid hostile communication, which is name calling or a tone of voice or things of that sort. Anyone want to latch on to any one of these or comment?
Well,
If you don't mind,
go ahead.
I can go ahead and kick it off.
Okay, Nader, go ahead. Nader, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, Sensei Eric. Yeah, no, what I was going to comment is I was in a pretty heated situation a number of years ago while I was under stress at work. And basically, I was in a pretty rough and rundown neighborhood of San Francisco. And I was approached by somebody from quite some distance away who started yelling, making derogatory remarks, and approaching me pretty aggressively. And I was under stress myself, and I wasn't, well, I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, I wasn't in a position to control myself either. And I basically ripped into him verbally and started yelling and swearing at him, and he backed down, and I thought, well, hey, this worked, and
Yeah.
so it depends on the situation. I mean, this guy was coming at me pretty aggressively, and I uh, I would wonder what would have happened if I was calm and let him continue.
Okay, I mean, that's
Yep.
a valid comment. Yeah, anyone want to react to that, or?
I had a similar thing. It wasn't really I wasn't too worried about him, but there was someone coming over to me kind of hostile because of something. And I also wasn't in the best mood. So I told him, if you get any closer, I'll knock your effing teeth out loud. He was like close enough to touch me at that point. And I think it startled him and backed him away. But literally, that was not what I've been taught in jiu-jitsu. I mean, I've always been taught to be calm, and I thought about it after. I probably shouldn't have done that, but it did work. So I was surprised, like you. I wasn't in control of my. At the time, I was working. I was tired. I was putting stuff, and the guy. It just happened, and he backed away. So maybe it gave him an excuse to be like, just back away. He backed away. He said, "Ah, you're all talk," and he walked away. I was like, so maybe it did work. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, Eric, you're,
Well,
let's get back.
my personal experience, I'll wait. Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I've had I had a more it's a personal experience because I went through it, but consider this more of a professional experience. I used to work as a security guard, so graveyard shift, working with the night owls or the street junkies, the homeless population, whatever. The one scenario that I've had, this person was coming at me very aggressively. I was trying to kick him off the property. He's coming at me very aggressively. I have no choice but to stay calm and to de-escalate as much as I can. So one thing that I've noticed is when I'm working on de-escalation, my voice is lower. It's very low. It's also very monotone-ish. I'm not matching his energy. I'm bringing my energy down below his. I'm also keeping my distance. I don't want him getting within arm's reach. So I am giving him verbal cues that I'm listening to what he's saying. Let him rant, and eventually we ended up bringing out our energy levels down. I'm able to talk to him, because if someone is that angry or aggressive with you, they cannot be reasoned with. That's just not going to happen. So if you can bring that aggression and that anger down to a level to where now we can talk, I can talk to him, explain the situation with him, what's going on, come to an agreement, and I would have to escort him off the property, because he's not a guest there. He's trespassing, and I am giving him the option to leave. Another thing is, if you're dealing with someone that is very aggressive, give them an out. Don't corner them. oh, they will lash out very fiercely. No, give them an out. So if I'm standing in a hallway, I'm gonna stand off to one side. Do you have one direction? Do you have another direction? If you want to go this way, okay, keep going. I have my hands up to keep some kind of barrier, and but I'm still working on de-escalation techniques. So this is coming from a professional scenario. Now there are the two of you that had to meet that level of aggression. Oftentimes that is very necessary. I've actually heard someone, this was last year, where someone was confronting somebody. This person was breaking into other people's cars. He starts being aggressive to that person, but he's shouting loud enough to where now everybody else can understand the situation, and so that scared that person away. To where he's embarrassed or whatever negative emotion that he was going through. So sometimes meeting that aggression head on can startle them so much that, oh, this person's serious. I need to back away. So that's a couple of scenarios that I can come up with.
Okay.
Good.
Hey, Paul,
Yeah.
your 2 cents worth before I get in there.
Oh, sure. You know, fortunately, the only time I've ever had to face something like this was actually right around the time I was promoted to Shodan. I visited a friend at Johns Hopkins Hospital, which the 2 blocks around Johns Hopkins Hospital are very nice, but when you park 3 or more blocks away, it's not the best neighborhood in the world. And when I left the hospital on a Saturday afternoon, bright, clear day, this guy started following me to my car. I crossed the street, he crossed the street. I crossed the street back, he crossed the street back. And I was thinking, unfortunately, the opposite of what most people seem to espouse to, in that I decided that I would be vulnerable getting into the car. So I needed to take care of this before I was vulnerable. So what happens, I started walking slower and let him come closer so that I could get within arm's reach. Because if he was armed, because everybody in Baltimore is armed, okay, I was close enough to do something about it rather than far enough away that I couldn't close the distance in time. So when he was nice and close, I turned and confronted him and I said, "What do you want?" Now, my voice was not calm. My voice was not extreme, but it was very clear and very concise. And quite honestly, I was ready to confront him with a great deal of rude behavior. So he was taken aback. He was surprised that I turned and confronted him. And he said something that I didn't understand. He was mumbling his words. And I asked him again, "What do you want?" And he sort of looked at me, and then he said, I'm not trying to hassle you, man." His whole demeanor changed because I could see his nonverbal communication, right? He was determined, and then suddenly he was taken aback and afraid. Maybe not afraid. Well, yeah, afraid. And what I did was, distract. Okay, or almost like when you're raising kids, if they want something, distract them with something else. So I saw a block and a half back was one of those information booths that they have where tourists maybe can go to find out where the subway is or whatever. And I pointed over his shoulder and I said, "Ask them, they would know." And he took a step back and he's like, "Okay," and he was off. But quite honestly, I was rather proud of myself that I contained all of the adrenaline that built up in me. And it turned out to be a no big deal. But quite honestly, I think the guy thought I was a drug dealer and he was looking to get a fix.
Maybe.
Okay. Sorry about the printer here. Anyway, keeping calm, I think keeping calm is a key, even if you end up becoming verbally abusive. As long as you're in control of what you are doing, that is the key. And that's what, to me, that's what calmness can be. When I've taught women self-defense, I usually tell women, I said, if men get upset with each other, no one pays attention. But if you're a woman and you feel physically threatened or you are being physically attacked and you can respond verbally, you use every word that your mother told you never to say in public or private as loud as you can, because everybody wants to know why, and it's a sexist statement, and I do apologize, why is that woman so mad? And people will actually show up, will be attracted to you as who said it. If you raise your voice enough so that other people can hear what you're saying clearly, it will get attention. And that's probably the best reason to become verbally abusive, if necessary. Otherwise, I mean, I've learned from experience, as Eric has said, I'll try to keep my voice as calm and monotone and controlled as possible. Try to be as relaxed have it sound as relaxed as possible and non-threatening, but you can also make your voice sound like you're in control of the situation. And that's the key, because if you go back to what's the name? The Art of War.
Sun Tzu.
Yeah. If you can create doubt in the other person's mind, you have won. And
Yeah.
and that's the easiest way to end a potential physical confrontation. I don't think I've ever had to use hostile communication. I've been in situations where I will say, have said to the person, additional, if they say to me, well, you're just alone, what are you going to do? And I said, well, either my friends or others will be here in just a moment, and or they're on their way. Something that indicates that you're not going to be alone. Now, whether you actually have someone showing up or not, that's a whole different story. But
it puts doubt in their head, though, right?
right,
Good poker play.
They're not sure what's going to happen, so like, oh,
right.
maybe
yeah.
I'll just.
If you're not sure what's going to happen,
Right.
then you have a better chance of avoiding. Where's Irving? Yeah. You have a better chance of avoiding the physical confrontation. And you can create doubt either by raising your voice or by staying calm. And I can't really say what is the best way to handle it. If you can if they sense that you're calm in the situation, that you have an inner calm, even though you may be verbally trashing them, then they're going to step back because they're not sure what's going to happen. And your goal is to de-escalate. And so sometimes by escalating verbally, we can de-escalate the chance of a physical confrontation.
I said that because being calm and raising your voice are not mutually exclusive. You can
Correct.
remain calm inside and raise your voice very intentionally.
Yeah, and different cultures will raise their voice just a matter of normal conversation.
Yeah.
And you have to be, particularly if you live in a metropolitan area that's, I'm going to say, multicultural or multi-ethnic, you have to be aware of all these things, because what you may hear, or the tone of voice you may hear, is not necessarily what their intent is. I know in being a high school teacher where I taught, we had 52 languages spoken on campus.
Wow.
And some cultures, they just, some people just are really loud when they speak. And their tone of voice is not the, calm demeanor that you would expect in most situations. Okay, situational awareness. Anyone want to delve into that?
Stop walking down dark alleys.
Yeah, don't walk
Yeah.
down dark alleys, especially at night.
No.
Yeah, I mean it's
I did that one.
Pardon? Yeah,
I
I mean,
had a instructor that was told me his car broke down in the middle of a bad city, and he left his family left them locked up in the car when he went to go for help. But instead of walking down the sidewalk, he walked down the middle of the street. That way, if anybody was trying to attack him or anything, he would see them coming at him instead of being mugged from a doorway or something.
there is I mean, if you're whether you're a martial artist or not, or a certain personality type, I mean, there are all sorts of, how do you say it, situations where you'd be afraid to leave your house. I mean, like I know there's one standard that says if you're walking down a sidewalk, stay in the middle of the sidewalk as much as possible, not next to the buildings, not next to the car, walk opposite the flow of the traffic. There are all these, we could drive ourselves crazy following all these quote unquote safety rules. But on the other hand, they do make sense. So you have to, I don't know, you have to use some common sense and say, what can I and can I not do? Walking down the middle of the street is much safer than maybe walking down a sidewalk, if it's known that there are muggings or robberies and things of that sort in that part of a city.
Yeah.
But that's assuming there's no traffic going down the street. Traffic.
Right.
So but situational awareness is just more or less being aware of where you're at and what's going on around you. Do you have an escape route? Are the businesses open where you're walking? What's the street lighting like? When you park your car at night, how close is it to outside lighting? I mean, you can go on and on with this stuff, and drive yourself paranoid, trying to be totally aware of what's going on.
There's a lot to be said for confidence. Okay. Presenting a confident demeanor, because back in '85, when I first moved to Baltimore, I got lost downtown a little bit. So I pulled into this 7-Eleven to ask directions. And I mean, it was obvious I was out of place. And I thought, well, if I'm confident and I don't look like I'm an easy target, that will work in my favor. And I walked in like I own the place. And I bought a candy bar, so I had a reason to be there. And when the lady checked me out, I asked her, what's the fastest way to get to 95? She happily told me. And when I walked back out and got in my car, all the guys hanging around, the late teens, early 20s and what have you, like, oh, that boy must be crazy. You're not going to mess with him. And I drove home and everything was fine.
Yeah, so sometimes it's just a matter, and I found this to be true. If you're polite and you sound like you know what you're doing,
Oh, yeah.
where you're going, it's amazing how people will cooperate with you. And I just make it happen. Someone does something for me, I always say thank you.
Me too.
I always refer to them as sir or ma'am. And I've had some people say, well, in response, they say, "Are you ex-military? Or are you a cop?" Because I use that term, the terminology, thank you, sir, it's a matter of being courteous to other people regardless. And that will sometimes either make them feel better or it'll throw them off from what they might otherwise be anticipating or see in you.
Mhm.
And it's just a matter of I always tried with my students, whether it be in the classroom or in jiu-jitsu, you want people to, how do you say, you want them to respect you. You show respect to anyone. You show respect to people, and you have a right to have it in return, but you can't demand it. But by your behavior, many times people will respect you because they see how you are behaving towards them. And if that person ends up being a turkey, for lack of a better phrase, or something I don't want to say on the record.
Someone disrespectful.
Pardon?
Someone disrespectful.
Yeah, it doesn't get you anywhere in the long run, and that's not what you're. And
It's kind of sad that just trying to bring back that politeness, the sir, the ma'am, thank you, you're welcome. I've even been asked if I'm police or military. It shouldn't. I shouldn't have to feel this way. That it needs to be much more commonplace because we're living in a more we're living in a very fast-paced environment now. Everything is just go, 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 go. It's also people are not as friendly to each other anymore. So it's kind of a lost art, so to speak.
yeah, I would concur with that. Some when we first moved up here to Valencia in '93, I think it was. We were approaching a store, and two teenagers were coming out, two teenage boys. They actually held the door open for us. It was like it was like culture shock because where we had lived before in San Fernando Valley, which is a suburb of Los Angeles, that would never happen. And I mean, fortunately up here, most people are very polite and courteous. And we jokingly say there's at least one police officer or fireman living on every block up here, which probably helps keep the crime rate down. But it's how you treat people. And if you treat people in a courteous and respectful manner, not demeaning, not condescending, because people get really ticked off at that. You'll get what you want more often than not. And sometimes you have to be assertive, but you can be assertive and polite as well. Okay.
And on this topic, I'll just throw in one thing here. Then I'm going to call up Darren Mellering. I'm warning him right now, and he'll see why in a minute. I've done a lot of international travel. I've been privileged to enjoy that. And when I travel, I'm very aware that I very much look the tourist because I carry a small video camera around my neck. I like to take 5 hours plus video when I go international. And I'm not going to try to cramp that on my phone. I also wear a broad brim hat for a variety of reasons. I just very much look the tourist. I can't hide it, and I don't want to hide it. It's a conversation starter, but it also makes me a target. One time I'm walking in the street in the outskirts of Oslo, Norway, and I was aware I was being followed. And it was very simple. Once I became aware I was being followed, I figured the guy probably has a partner. And there are alleys on either side of this fairly wide street. So what do I want to do here? And it was simple. I just turned around quickly, 180, and stared straight at him. And he was quarter of a block behind me. He immediately looked guilty, looked down, kind of turned to the side, and then kind of trudged forward like I'm supposed to keep walking. He had guilt all over his face. Never said a word. And it was just kind of comical because all I did was turn around and look straight at him. Like, I know you're there. And that was the end of it. And so, Darren, you've done a ton of international travel. And when you travel, do you appear the tourist or you try to blend in more? And you have no doubt had some amazing situations with all the international travel you've done.
Yeah, I ran into my fair share of different scenarios for sure. I always try to blend in, but every time I look in the mirror, I can clearly see that I'm the obvious tourist in the area. For some reason, it never works out. So I do my best to try to get there, but
You stick out like a sore thumb.
yeah, there's no question. There's no question. I stick out. I have just a few comments on what everybody was talking about, and I didn't catch the overall topic, but I think I can make it work. So yeah, look, all the comments that everyone is saying, I agree with. There's some very good points and some very good explanations and some very good processes and procedures. And is there a handbook on it? No. What we do know is that every single scenario, whether they're similar or very, very alike, they're all different, right? And so what's important to be aware of is exactly some of the parts of it that we did talk about is just understanding your position, where you are, what you're doing. So we're going back to situational awareness. And a lot of times more than not, it's that's your biggest form of understanding your scenario, where you are, knowing your surroundings, knowing what potential threats may be there, knowing what your ability is, understanding the type of mood that you may be in, because let's not forget that not only in a self-defense scenario, just in everyday life, your mood doesn't determine whether or not something more or something else will happen to you. I mean, just because you're not in a good mood or you had a rough day doesn't mean that somebody's going to leave you alone because they understand that scenario or they understand that dynamic or something that you've been through. Or if you're even sick, doesn't mean that the perpetrator out there isn't going to try to rob you because you're not feeling at your best to be able to do something about it, whether it's in self-defense physically or whether it's in de-escalation and verbal communication. So all of those things we should always just be aware of it. And again, I think all of those things tie into situational awareness, which applies to your ability to defend yourself verbally and or physically. Those things are very important. Tone, everybody here talked on tone and how to effectively verbal to verbally communicate with people. And so a big part of that, I believe, is just, Sensei Kirby had touched on it a little bit. Eric had touched on it a little bit, and I believe somebody else did. But tone and being able to communicate with someone is extremely important. Being able to find that area to where you can relate to the individual that you may feel like is a threat to you or threatening your space is extremely important. You don't want to be demonstrating a tone that would have a lack of confidence, but you can also understand if you're overly aggressive with your tone, that might have someone be more aggressive with you. So I think that tone and the way that you articulate yourself in communication is extremely important. And in my opinion, is one of the biggest factors for law enforcement officials that they don't understand how to effectively communicate. And so that's a huge factor in how things may or may not escalate in any scenario. Anyway, that's a couple of takeaways that I had, and hopefully that adds on to what we had talked about.
Okay. One other thing I'm just going to pick up on what Darren said at the end, and this is from dealing with law enforcement agencies. Police officers in the United States do not get adequate training.
We don't.
Every agency will tell you that. If you go to Europe, there are some countries that require a year or two of training before that police officer hits the street, and that's in everything from arrest and control techniques to how to deal with people. They're given a far broader background to effectively deal, and I think that's I'm not trying, most police officers are trying to do their job the best they can. But if you don't receive adequate training, it's difficult to do the best job you can. And
Yeah,
it's frustrating.
that's very true.
I mean, I know when I've worked with police officers, I go back to, if I'm putting a person in a control hold, or it's, physical conflict, I will always use the word please, don't do that, calm down, sir. You've got to sound as polite and confident as possible in whatever you're doing. And that's probably partly the key to people who are more successful than other people, is having that self-control of yourself, and showing respect, which is the next topic, which is no judgment or criticism of the other person. And that's a hard thing to do particularly if you're in a physical confrontation and you're trying, you finally have them in some sort of control hold, and you're trying to get them to calm down, because most people are very agitated if they are at the short end of things physically, and that's a very tactful way of putting it. In doing this, you have to, by being verbal, you sort of demonstrate what could be called self-regulation to some extent. You're showing that you are in control of yourself, and if people see the control of yourself, they're more likely to be cooperative. Doesn't always work. Person's high on drugs or under the influence of alcohol, you may have a different ballgame going, for lack of a better phrase. And I've been there a couple times too. It's not an easy issue to deal with. Anyway, there's
before we moved on, you said something that reminded me. If you're trying to, if anybody out there is married, you already know, telling them to calm down does not work.
no, it does not work. It does not work.
Nope.
That doesn't work in any situation. It's one of the worst things you can say, because it just antagonizes people, because it's like you're totally disrespecting them.
Yeah.
Even though you're saying calm down, we can work this out. By saying calm down, it really gets people more upset.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah.
And so that takes us to the next part of this, which is trying to find agreement, or laughter together.
That's important.
In a confrontational situation, if you can find out what they want or what's bugging them, sometimes you can really de-escalate, because now they're seeing, here's someone who's willing to listen to me. And you may have to listen to them just to calm them down. You may not believe a word they're saying. Believing a person and listening to them are two entirely different things. But if they feel that you're listening to them, it may calm them down. And if you can engage them in a conversation, that may calm them down as well. And you can always say there's an old story I heard decades ago between an American businessman and a Japanese company, and they were at a table with several American with several Japanese executives. And every time the American make a statement, I think Paul has heard this because I see a slight smile on his face. And same with Dave. The Japanese would say hi.
Yeah.
And the American finishes, what he would like to see done. And they said, and he asked them if they would agree with him. And they said, no. And he said, well, you've been saying hi all along, which if you're not sure most people interpret that if a Japanese person says hi, the word means,
Yes.
they interpret it to mean yes. But it also means I understand.
Understand. Yep. Mhm.
But I understand does not mean yes.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can say to a person, I understand what you're saying. That does not mean you are agreeing with them.
Yeah, true.
And sometimes it's just a matter, some people just want to be quote unquote understood. And that's a hard part for some people to do because they don't want to waste their time listening to someone they don't agree with. But sometimes you have to. And one of the advantages of that, and I've done this, is that sometimes by listening to them, you find out what's really bugging them. And then that becomes a discussable topic. And it also sometimes maybe can lead to some sort of resolution. And then you both walk away happy, so to speak. Sometimes it doesn't, but and if you can get that person who's upset to laugh, even just once, or smile,
Mhm.
You've done it.
I'm not going to say you've won, but if you can get them to smile, it shows they understand what you're saying. And again, they may not be agreeing with you, but that smile indicates that they're not necessarily upset with you any longer. Because you can't smile at a person if you're upset with them. It's
I
hard.
believe one of the things you have to do also is to make an assessment of the person you're dealing with. Okay, case in point, and I'm sure George knows this more than most, having been a professional in the school system. Okay, back before when my kids were still in high school and earlier, okay, I volunteered a lot. Well, in addition to teaching jujitsu to kids at the Y, I coached girls softball for 12 years, boys soccer for a decade, basketball for 5 years, and I was a band booster in my son's band since he was like in 8th grade. And it was during one of the football games, high school football games. I was sitting with the band on the upper part of the bleachers because, all the band booster parents were strategically placed just to, if nothing else, offer a sense of control of a situation. And this one young boy who was not in the band had some sort of disagreement or issue with another young boy. And it started to become heated, and it was in my area. So I stood up and entered myself into the conversation. And the young boy causing the problem, 14, 15 years old, just not mature enough yet to handle his testosterone. And I basically garnered his attention, and I asked him, hey, how can I help you guys? And he was agitated, and I looked at him and I held my hands up, I'm like, hey, be cool, buddy. We're all good. No problems here. And I wound up repeating that 2 or 3 times, and he was just looking at me saying nothing. Now, granted, I was, 6 inches taller and easily 80 pounds heavier. So he was like, I guess, sizing up the situation. Fortunately, he just decided it wasn't worth it and walked away. And I'm glad that's what happened, because the band director, I saw him out of my peripheral vision. He was watching the whole thing. And I'm like, oh God, I hope this doesn't go bad. But, realizing I was dealing with a young person rather than a grown adult who, certainly wouldn't have taken an aggressive tack, well, certainly if they took an aggressive tack, would have probably meant it a lot more. But fortunately, just being friendly and calm and cool, did diffuse the situation. Of course, me being physically bigger didn't hurt either.
Yeah, sometimes a third person intervening can draw down the situation, or can puts a different light on it. And if I saw a fight as a teacher, if I felt the kids were equally matched or reasonably matched, I'd let them get 1 or 2 hits in. And that was simply so that for them to save face. And then you break it up. And this leads into the next question is, and I've mentioned this before, you never ask a person why they did something.
Right.
That always puts them on the defensive. And you remember this, probably all of you remember this as kids. Why did you do that? Why did that happen?
Yeah.
Why are you in trouble again? And I learned from a senior counselor she was straight up with the kids, but they loved her. They called her mom, and she was an elderly lady. And she says, my first day in the counseling office, she says, you never ask a kid why they did something. You always ask them, what are your reasons? And that changes the discussion tremendously, because sometimes the kid has a legitimate reason.
Yeah.
If I had 2 kids that I pulled in for fighting, or they were pulled in, and I'm not going to ask them, why are you fighting? What I usually did was say, what are the reasons for this? And sometimes there's no legitimate reason to fight, but sometimes they would say, well, so-and-so said this, and I wanted to even the score. And I'd say, okay. And by district policy, if 2 kids were fighting, you were supposed to suspend both of them. If that was the case, there's a third party involved, I'd get that third kid pulled in and he'd be suspended from school because he wanted to see these 2 guys fight. So sometimes what you believe initially is obvious is not the case. And a lot of it comes down to, many times, as we've been talking more about how you say what you say or how you behave, but sometimes it's how you phrase your questions that can either escalate or de-escalate a situation, and either you get information you want or you don't. And that's something you learn through experience. Darren's in insurance, and you go to someone's house and you say, why did your house burn down? That's not to give them as good an answer as saying, what were the reasons, or what was the reason? Because simply by rephrasing the question, you may get a more specific answer, which is what you want, where you can then say, okay, this is covered, this is not covered. Or I don't know if you want to say this is not covered. Say, we'll have to look into that.
I guess one way to look at it is especially if you're in doing some kind of investigation, is you have 5 questions: who, what, where, when, how.
There you go. Not why.
There's no why, because you're not going to get the why.
Yeah. I know years ago, and this is, and I had to deal with an insurance company, my insurance company. I was rear-ended in my car, and I pulled over and the other guy took off. But I remember I at least saw the first 3 digits on his plate, and I knew the make and color of the vehicle. And initially, my insurance company said, well, we don't have enough information to deal with this. And I said, do I have to go to another resource to get this information? And you can be firm and be polite at the same time. And then they came back about a week later and they said, well, we located the owner of the vehicle, but he said he lives up in San Francisco and he says his car is there. And I said, did you inspect their vehicle? They said, no. I said, well, make a longer story short. It turns out he had loaned his car to a friend who was down in our area. And his friend had, in fact, rear-ended me, which did not make him happy, nor did it make his insurance company happy. And I have no idea what else happened, but the repairs were taken care of. But my concern was my repairs being taken care of. But you sometimes have to be very firm with people in terms of what you want, and be polite at the same time. So in any case, but yeah, it's if you stay away, how is a good alternative to asking why? But why is one of the worst questions you can ask, because it doesn't work a lot of the times. The last item here on this topic is de-escalating the situation by finding common ground or a workable solution to a problem. I've found myself a number of times dealing with gang members, and sometimes on school grounds. And we're talking about adult gang members coming into a junior high school. And this is before we had campus police. But we did have I was part of a campus security team, which was, as I said, it was made up of a karate black belt, myself, a teacher who was also a bouncer, and the boys' PE department, whomever they could spare. And many times and the really, how you say, the dumbest part of it was that of this one ethnic group, all the kids of that junior high belonged to one gang. And often we'd have people from another gang come in and to beat up one kid. And I'd say, you don't want to put yourself in this situation. I said, because we're going to have to rescue you. Because you're not going to go after one kid, and his gang member friends are not going to stand there and watch it happen. And sometimes if you find some sort of common ground where you're showing your interest is them and their safety, you can de-escalate the situation. And many times that adult gang member would say, okay. And they'd say, what do you want me to? I say, well, all you have to do is leave. if you leave now, before more of us get here, nothing is going to happen. And you sometimes have to say, but this is your choice. And most people are not, most people are not dumb or stupid, I'll say. Which goes to another saying I learned as a seventh grader in PE, and coach said, I can work with dumb people. But don't go stupid on me. And a stupid person is someone who does dumb stuff intentionally. So that for some reason that's stuck with me all this time. It's okay to be dumb, but don't go stupid. So, and most people are smart enough to recognize that concept of being told. And you don't have to say, don't be stupid. But if sometimes if you give them reasonable options or a reasonable out, they will take it. And there are some of us here, by some of the things you said earlier, where you've indicated you've given the person an out and they've taken it. Given them another option they didn't think of and they've taken it. And that's, to me, that in terms of escalation or de-escalation is something you really have to look at. Because if you can give them options where you don't have to have a confrontation, that's what you're after. And if they can figure it out for themselves, that's a credit to both of you. Okay. What else do we have here?
There's one thing that I think I would like to mention, especially when it comes to being situationally aware, giving them an out, trying to de-escalate the situation, trying to calm an irate person down. When you're dealing with someone that is so angry that their eyes are watery or glistening, you need to definitely give them some space, because that person is now so angry that they're ready to lash out any second. Just by looking at the eyes, if it's watery, if it's glistening, tears coming down, that's a lot of pent up frustration and anger. They're ready to burst. So that's something that people need to be aware of when they are dealing with an individual that is that irate.
You very valuable, Eric. You have to, probably one of the most effective things you can do is look at a person's face, or you need to be aware of their total body language. If they're all tensed up, if their fists are clenched, if their arms are close to their body, if their eyes are glancing back and forth. I mean, there's a lot of body language is going to tell you this person is really uptight and having a problem. That's putting it very tactfully. But if you can see this and you can see that the person is really upset, your goal is to do the best they can and be as polite as possible with them and you may just have to listen to them, lack of a better phrase, shout their brains out, and then be able to verbalize whatever they were really upset about. Because one of the worst things you can do is cut a person like that off right away. Because then that gives them, they've lost their ability to, you're not listening to me. And if they can't express themselves verbally, their next course of action is probably physical. And you want to avoid that. So, Eric, that's a really good point to bring out. Is you need to watch the person's body, need to watch their face. This will also probably tell you whether they're under the influence of something or not. And it's, I mean, there are no clear directions on this, but, you just have to be, you know, there are things, the eyes will give you, like Eric said, that the person's eyes will give you a lot of clues as to what they're thinking or not thinking, depending on how you want to interpret it, or how they feel. And you always, if you want to de-escalate, you always have to take their feelings into consideration, whether they're, even if they're wrong, because you're trying to de-escalate the situation, not show that they were wrong at something. Once they calm down and you can talk about it, assuming you both want to talk about it, then you can discuss it and say, okay, maybe you could try this as an alternate, or maybe you could do that. But you can't do that with a person who's upset easily. Anyway,
Can I add something to that, sir?
sure.
Well, to do with body language. One thing I learned, I think it's really important, is one of the main giveaways with someone with body language, if they're about to actually do something, is they will start looking around behind them to make sure no one else is there to see what they're about to do.
Yeah.
And they've done studies, they've done CTV cameras, and that's like the main thing that they spotted with criminals or whoever is about to attack. They start looking around to see if it's safe for them to do whatever. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I said. You look at the eyes, and if they're shifting right to left,
Yeah, and but once they look behind you, it's
yes, it's so
they're looking
important.
behind themselves, looking to see who's coming, if there's anyone else.
And
Is it safe for me to basically do what I'm about to do? Yeah.
right. And one of the things I try to work with my students is you don't want to, I say, you don't have to rely on your direct vision to sense an attack coming. If you can train yourself to use your peripheral vision, your area of vision expands. If I'm just looking straight at the screen, I lose all this stuff to the side. If I relax my eyes, I can pick up motion clear back to here, keep my head straight.
Right.
And because I'm not concentrating on your face.
Right.
And that is a skill. It's easy to develop once you can get your students to do that. But it's so important in terms of anticipating an attack. It's your peripheral vision will pick up a lot
Right.
faster.
Well, what I was saying was that a criminal, before they act,
Yeah,
they're gonna look behind them, right?
correct.
They don't have the training to use their peripheral. You know what I mean? They're just acting on instinct. They're like, oh, I look behind. There's no one there. Good, bang, I'm gonna punch. Right. That's right.
Right. And if you have a background in judo, one of the primary rules in judo is how do you know what a person is going to do? What do you watch? Anyone know the answer to that?
I watch their balance.
Okay, you can watch their balance, but there's an easy way to watch their balance. What part of the body do you watch?
Right
They
here.
would definitely lean forward a lot.
Their head as well,
The head is important, but what part of your body?
and the feet.
I remember from football, you'd be taught to watch their hips so that you'd know which way they're going. And if they're shifting weight from one leg to the other, the hips will tell
How they're
them.
standing. Yeah.
I'll give you.
I keep saying chest.
How they're standing.
Okay, how they're standing. Okay, now we're doing a lot of things that involve the whole body, and the hips and the feet. And if you're looking at their feet, you can't watch the top of them. What?
Their hands. Their hands. You got to see where their hands are.
I'll say, let me put it this way: it's above their armpits and below their neck.
Their shoulders.
Shoulders, good.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, if you see a shoulder moving,
They're gonna.
it'll give you a clue as to what the rest of their body is going to do.
I wanted to mention turning and looking with respect to the shoulders. Sometimes people will take advantage of the fact that they turned to turn back with a swing to your head.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
that may be something to look out for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's kind of hard to move the head without moving the shoulder too.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna hit a person full bore, that shoulder's gonna come back, and your head is actually gonna turn slightly.
Right.
So it's something. I mean, that's usually, if you got their head and face down, you then broaden your vision, your peripheral vision to the shoulders. And that'll pretty give you an idea whether they're gonna turn or swing at you, or they're gonna do something. And at that point, I mean, you should be in some sort of a ready position anyway that's non-threatening.
Mhm. And also, you can tell by the way their shoulders are how their feet are. Like if I'm
yes,
like this, right, my feet are probably underneath me. But if
correct.
I'm like this, one foot's probably back, right?
Yes.
Right. So that's another,
And odds are with most people, if one foot's back, that's the
They're
side
gonna,
it's gonna come from.
unless they're really tricky.
Right.
They're trying to trick you. But then you're in trouble.
There are no simple answers in this world.
No.
In the heat of the moment, people aren't gonna go, generally, angry people aren't gonna go to second and third order trickery. They're usually
Well,
just
Uh,
You
and
might
if
get a
they
clever,
are, you're in trouble.
you've had the experience. They might
yeah.
try to,
Yep.
maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think at this point, I was hoping, well, we're not going to get to the next topic, which is what part of your art do you teach? So that's going to be our first topic next time. I think it's the first Saturday in October. So, and that's, if you're an instructor, what are you teaching everything you've been taught that your instructors have taught you? Or have you specialized or things of that sort?
Sensei, to that topic, I'd just like to say at the very beginning of this meeting, when people introduced themselves, it was pretty evident that everyone here has studied more than one discipline, and that's
Yeah.
common. You want to work with really good musicians, you'll find that every really good musician you work with plays more than one instrument well, because it gives them perspective.
Yeah.
Everyone here has studied in more than one dojo.
That's true.
More than one sensei, because it gives us perspective. So when you say, do you teach your art? You can make that plural. Do we teach our arts?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay, but that'll be our first topic next time, as well as teaching techniques with no street value, which is something Seki did once in a while, but there's a method to the madness. And the other one which is going to be really subjective, is returning traditional jiu-jitsu to reality training.
Yeah.
Because some of us practice in a vacuum. Anyway, so I apologize for having this session being about 15 minutes shorter than anticipated. But I have another commitment that is infringed upon this morning, or today. So I didn't want to have this meeting, but I'm glad we were able to cover this topic. I'm sad that Ken wasn't with us. And hopefully this discussion will be satisfactory to him. Otherwise, we may end up coming back and revisiting it. Anyway, so I hope everyone has a good weekend.
Yes. I probably won't see any of you, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, until next summer. because we go back to teaching on Saturdays again.
Okay.
The kids come back
Well, like
from
I
their
said,
break for
put 'em all-
jujitsu, right?
put 'em all in the car.
Good luck with your classes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. But put them
So
all.
if I can make one or two, I'll make it, but I don't know.
Yeah, if get them all in the car and tell them you're going to meet some great stuff.
That's right.
We're
Yeah,
not going to go
Karjitsu.
anywhere.
Yeah, Karjitsu, like I said.
Karjitsu, right.
Karjitsu. Yeah.
There's one amongst us who has learned more than anybody.
I'll squish them in.
Sensei
Yeah. that's-
Kirby. Sensei
Pardon?
Kirby has been sitting there very quietly. So he's drunk this all in. We're gonna have to pick his brain next time. If you please come back, sir.
Okay.
Mhm.
Very good.
Okay.
So hope you have
All
a
right.
good-
Take care, everyone.
Okay.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.